even think about that for at all.
Good.
But so we got these stories lined up. This one, the lead story that we're gonna talk about, it's kind of creepy. It's from today. They found 42 oddly buried skeletons on a farm in the UK, and we could just talk about it first. But you know what's crazy? I got to do this. The coronavirus is really deadly.
It's scary, yo.
It's way worse.
Yeah. I know, yeah. Every
So
day
I
it's
did
something. We're finding out new stuff.
Yeah, and I think I did a segment on my news channel, my second channel, and I think it's just like it just bears repeating. So we can just open up with this. Listen, man. There's now a story. I think it's from Fox News.
Okay.
Maybe it was Fox. The experts are warning of a pandemic. They're like, it's gonna happen. It's
that
here.
bad.
Yeah, it's gonna be all over. It's gonna be everywhere. And a lot of people, I keep seeing these memes pop up, these tweets, and people are all laughing. They're like, the flu has already killed 10,000 people. Oh my God. And I was on that train. I admit it.
Yeah.
I was like, come on, everybody. The flu's so much worse. What are you doing? And now we know that it's traveling as fast as the flu. And its mortality rate is 10 to 20 times higher.
That is a lot.
So it's like the coronavirus is way, way bad.
Yeah, it is a scary thing.
But you were just on drugs, so you don't have to, your caffeine. That's what I mean. Your caffeine overdose. So I don't know. I thought that was just like interesting to kind of bring up before we just jump into stories about
mysterious dead bodies.
Mysterious dead bodies. So yeah, let's check this out. So we actually have two stories in this vein. It's kind of weird, and we got a couple mysteries for you today. But this one I thought was kind of just, I don't know. I'm kind of ambivalent on like a bunch of dead bodies appearing on a farm, because I'm kind of like, what's the word? Desensitized.
To like 42 oddly buried. That's what gets me. Oddly buried. What does that mean?
It's a mass grave.
Well, they would have said that, don't you think? Like
it's like a serial killer in the UK.
What makes it so different from finding a mass grave? Because that's really what I see, but they're oddly buried skeletons. So what does that mean?
Are they? It's like, listen, okay, they're not supposed to be there, right?
Right.
It's not a cemetery, right?
Right.
So no matter why they're buried, it's odd.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's read. I'll read this from Live Science, or is it Live Science? I don't know. It's from just 10 hours ago. They say, excavation for the construction of a retirement community in the rural UK recently unearthed 42 skeletons in shallow graves that had their hands tied behind their backs. All right, we just stepped into it's beyond odd.
Yeah, that's weird.
These people were murdered.
Clearly.
But how the bodies ended up there and who they might represent? What is it? Who they might be remain unknown. Are they like really, really old? Contract archaeologists working with the builders have yet to provide local officials with a report about the remains, and the country residents are calling for answers, local news site the Milton Keynes Citizen reported on January 28th. The remains were discovered in December on West End Farm in Buckingham, England, after developer Brio Retirement Living Holding broke ground for 72 new apartments for retirees, according to MK Citizen. The shallowness of the graves and the fact the skeletons' hands were bound suggested they were prisoners of some kind, said District and Town Councillor Robin Stutchbury. They could date from Anglo-Saxon times. Okay, so these are super old. We're not talking about a serial killer.
Oh, wow.
We're talking about like a major archaeological find.
Yeah, that's old.
When there were killings in Buckingham, or during the Civil War, which also saw casualties, Stutchbury told MK Citizen.
Okay, so it might not necessarily be that old, but it's still pretty old though.
I don't know anything about the UK. I think we're legally obligated to not care about the UK after the revolution. So it's like, I reject your news. I don't know why I'm reading about this. No, okay, like we're after World War, I think won, because we kept getting involved in their affairs. Now it's okay to talk about some things. But as for the Anglo-Saxons during the British, the English Civil War, whatever it was called, I don't know, whatever. But let's read. So they say they could be criminals who were hanged on the gallows in the town. Representatives of Bucks County Council's Archaeological Service said that they were aware of the find but have yet to receive further information about the discovery of the skeletons, MK Citizen reported. We are unable to comment on the archaeological remains discovered at the West End Farm site at present, as we are still awaiting a report detailing the results from the archaeological contractors, a spokesperson told MK Citizen. Analysis of the excavation would include descriptions of any artifacts found in the graves, as well as skeletons' genders, ages, and details of how they died. All of this would help determine who the people were and how they ended up buried together in these farmland mass graves. But it could be months before BCAS receives such a report, according to the BBC. This find is of great historical significance to Buckingham, and it should not be hushed up, Stutchbury added.
Was someone trying to hush it up?
I don't know. Maybe, because could you imagine if you invested, millions of dollars into building a retirement home or condos?
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, we're going to have to stop you because of the corpses that we found.
Yeah.
You're going to be like,
This is now an archaeological site.
Oh, that's
and
even worse.
You can't ever build here. Like,
Yeah.
I see that happening,
Yep.
though,
Yeah.
Who knows what?
It kind of reminds me
that?
of like an old 80s movie where like the evil developer is like, I must destroy the archaeological dig site to build my condominiums.
We got to sweep it under
They
the
try
rug.
and like cover it up. Mm-hmm. So we actually have, in reading this, my first assumption when you first read the story is like, is there a serial killer on the loose?
Yeah.
Oh, nope. It's just the British government. Chill out, everybody. They just killed a bunch of people, bound their hands behind their back. But those things happened, right? It happened a long time ago. Now we're basically completely demonetized, talking about 42. Hey, it's science, though. We're talking about an archaeological dig, okay? Right? But this got me thinking about, I ended up doing a search looking into stories pertaining to, I guess, just bodies and corpses. And we found this other story that's actually, it's from last year, from the Atlantic.
No one really knows what to do with all of America's unclaimed corpses. How many do we have?
We have a lot. And states are going to weird lengths to deal with overcrowded morgues. But here's the thing I want to talk about.
What?
Look, okay, so we talked about the silly mystery. Okay, so maybe that's silly. It's 42 people who are like bound. Maybe I don't know what happened. Okay, something happened in the Civil War. Maybe they were rebels or whatever you call them. But what I was thinking? I was driving down some highway the other day, and I have no idea where it was. And I noticed that it was like the most oddly placed cemetery next to some buildings in a suburban environment.
Okay.
And the cemetery was as big as like a single plot of land, like a house.
Yeah.
Like a couple, like 10,000 square feet maybe.
Like an acre or two.
I'm like, so are those corpses just there forever?
That's a good point.
Like, so you ever see the movie Up?
Yeah.
So it's the one where like it starts with the old guy and he doesn't want to give up his house,
Right.
and then like because his wife died or whatever, and then over time the city and the skyscrapers build up around it.
Oh yeah.
Like we're literally getting to the point where skyscrapers and big cities are being built around these tiny cemeteries. Like in Manhattan, in the financial district, you actually have the Trinity Church, and there's literally like two cemeteries.
Yeah, right there. I've
Like
been
there's
there.
going to be his corpses there forever, right? It's like this is officially unusable bodies.
What would you suggest?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, it's a crazy thought. I'm like, right, there's small cemeteries. Like, what happens when they get full? What do? You just say, oh, we're full.
Yeah, right. I don't know.
I've never been fond of ceremonial burial.
Yeah, me neither.
I've always been more about the Viking funeral. Put me in a boat, kick me into the ocean, and fire a flaming arrow into my corpse.
Flaming arrow, yeah.
Yeah, let me go to the fishes. So now we have this problem. So this was really interesting because, in thinking about them finding these bodies and trying to build something, like I said, the first thought was like oddly buried. Ooh, is it murder? No, it's like Civil War or something. I started thinking like, what do we do when we have overcrowded cemeteries? Like there's a finite amount of space for dead people, right?
That's true. Well, they have those earth pods now that you can be turned into a tree.
Oh yeah, they put mushrooms on you or something,
Yeah,
right?
like
Like
that's
fungus.
cool. I'd be a tree. I'd be down. Sure, turn me into a
I
tree.
like you're like technically a tree. Like your stardust becomes a tree.
Yeah.
But let's read and see what weird lengths the states are going to deal with overcrowded morgues. And they got to put this weird creepy picture. Like what is this? All right.
Yeah.
Here we
it's
go.
two holes, too.
Here
It's
we
not
go.
just one.
They're giving us the narrative. They're not going to tell us what's going on. They're just going to tell us a story.
Classic.
Sarah Krebs is used to corpses going missing. Why? As a detective
okay.
who works in the missing persons unit in Detroit, she has solved dozens of cases by matching up disappeared people to unidentified bodies left in state custody. But for older cases in which the county was supposed to have buried the body, Krebs says it's common for her to order an exhumation from the local cemetery and discover the bodies she's looking for is not there. What?
So they were supposed to have buried it in a spot, but
Now,
no
people are
bodies
stealing
there.
the bodies.
Ah, is that what you're thinking?
Well, I mean, yeah.
Something's happening too.
Well, let's see what they say. Anywhere from a few days to a few years later, those bones might turn up in a separate burial plot. What? Or in a box on a medical examiner's shelf, or in law enforcement evidence room, or in a county employee's house.
What?
I have multiple cases where we had thought the body was buried, and we found a couple of days later that someone had it at home.
So they're taking their work home.
Wow, this
Literally.
is crazy.
What?
Your face is so shocked right now.
I
The other person you can't see is like,
crazy.
what the heck is going on that people are taking bones home with them after work? I don't understand.
They love their jobs, maybe.
I gotta admit, like, here's the thing. Whenever out of sight, out of mind, we really do live in our own worlds.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like, so I had this idea once for a show because I was at a Starbucks and I saw this across the street from the Starbucks was a wall, and the wall had black arcing streaks on it. Okay. And I thought to myself, I know exactly what that is, and no one else does. And I can see something on that wall no one else can. They were skateboarding wall ride marks.
Right.
The average person would look at it and not even think twice. Like, it's what we talked about last week about the ship in the horizon, and if it's not. So
it doesn't register.
I never even thought about this problem that people who work at morgues are literally like, I'm going to go dig up this corpse and bring its bones to my house. I didn't know that was a thing. Now you do. Hey, that's why, when you read, you know what I like about doing this new show?
What?
We're learning.
It's almost like they took the body out of the case or the, whatever, and before it got buried, because they're burying it up. And
I just realized,
what?
People who want these jobs probably want them for a reason. Like, what do you think? Like, there's somebody being like, when I grow up, it's my dream to just, exhume dead bodies.
or just bring them home with me and have
friends.
Well,
that's the secret. Exhumation is like, well, I got to do it.
You think they have tea parties at home? Just set them up. Weekend at Bernie's.
Hold on. They say. The reason for this morbid confusion is that the United States is enduring a cadaver pileup. Medical examiners around the country are being overrun with bodies that no one comes to pick up. A trend that many coroners attribute to the nation's opioid epidemic. Okay, that got really dark really fast.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry. But let's read. Drug overdose deaths increased by 10% from 2016 to 2017, largely driven by fentanyls and similar drugs, according to the CDC. Now, medical examiners in cities such as Detroit process dozens of new remains each day. And as Krebs has encountered, some of those bodies can slip under the radar. Okay, wait, hold on.
Oh, man.
I'm going to be much more sensitive to the story about, opioid addiction and drug abuse and stuff.
Yeah.
And that was not what we were talking about, okay? They're talking about graves.
Right.
And they open it up to examine. There's nothing there.
Right.
And they find it in a different casket. Like, did somebody pull
or
up?
at an employee's house.
Yeah, like, what's up with that? Nah, if you want to talk about the pileup, and then you want to talk about how the opioid problem is so bad, these victims are piling up. That's freaky.
I mean, a 10% increase in a year, that's a lot.
Man, wow. That's crazy. Especially for Detroit, it makes sense, economic downturn or whatever. They say the bodies that remain accounted for, meanwhile, float in and out of state custody. No one is quite sure what to do with them. The United States has no uniform system for managing the unclaimed. There is no federal law outlining what steps to take. And many states do not have clear procedures, leaving individual medical examiners to make decisions about how best to deal with the bodies. As a result, examiners without money to simply bury or cremate the remains are resorting to inventive and strange solutions. No, I'm sorry, man. Look, I get it if you leave the bodies in the morgue.
Yeah.
But taking them home?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
No, that's something totally different.
Yeah,
those people are just like, it's not my fault. I just, there's so many.
There's too many.
Had to bring them to my house.
I'm doing the office a favor.
We're saving money. Taxpayer dollars being saved here, guys. Among the unclaimed bodies processed in the United States, some are the unidentified remains from missing person cases, like the ones Krebs works on. But the majority belong to people who were estranged from their family while they were alive, according to Kenna Quinnett, an associate professor at Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis, who co-wrote one of the only academic articles on unclaimed bodies. In most of these cases, the identity of the victim is known, but coroners or funeral directors can't contact the next of kin, or the next of kin was reached and either doesn't want the body or can't afford to bury it. The unclaimed population skews poor and homeless. That's sad, man.
Yeah, it is.
But I've never been a fan, again, of plotted ceremonial burial.
Mm-hmm.
I was much more related to Frank from It's Always Sunny when he was like, just throw me in the trash. He's like, this. They were like, they wrote on a tombstone or something like he was an awful father, and he's like, this is what you're doing with me when I die? Just throw me in the trash. And I'm like, yeah, I never really cared. Put me in the Viking funeral,
Yeah, I'm not gonna be in that body after I die.
I mean, maybe that's the scary thing. Wasn't there was a Tales from the Crypt episode? You watched Tales from the Crypt before?
I remember it. Yeah,
dude. I think one of the most nightmarish hell possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I said the H word. Is okay. Whatever. Was the guy dies and then he's still in his body.
Mm-hmm.
He still feels everything. He still sees anything. He just can't do it. He can't move. And so he's witnessing he was murdered, And like
That is a frightening premise.
I think that was Tales from the Crypt. I don't know. I was like really young when I saw it.
Yeah, it's
but I
pretty-
was like,
that's
that's like the
creepy.
scariest thing. And then like I guess the woman, his wife kills him. Or no, his wife kills him, and then like the guy she was cheating with kills her, and then they're both like just stuck in their corpses, and like, man, what if that is what happens?
That sucks.
We should actually do a what happens after you die segment, and not just like jump off of this. So, well, I'll tell you what, we've gone a little bit on this.
Yeah.
I think we get the idea, and I don't want to be callous because I definitely, I'm concerned about this. They say New York has buried more than 1 million unclaimed bodies.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Well, over I don't know how long.
Oh, is that what it says?
No, I'm saying I don't. It doesn't say exactly.
Oh, right.
over how long.
I see. Yeah. Body farms? Oh, dude, Tennessee gives some unclaimed cadavers to body farms where researchers study decomposition. I'm actually okay with that to an
Okay.
extent. Like, I
Research?
take my body, take for science.
Sure, right.
Shove some mushrooms, where the sun
Well,
don't shine, so
what about
turn
the,
to a
the
tree, I
whole
guess.
thing where if you're an organ donor, they might not save you?
Oh, that's a whole other
Is that a
podcast
hoax? Or do you think-
segment.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, we could talk about that.
Well, she's the fancy doctor over there. What are you saying? They don't.
So body farms are really cool, and no, they do not choose not to save you.
You're lying.
Donating organs.
She's part of the conspiracy.
It's a hoax.
She was
Okay.
telling us she knew all about coronavirus.
Yeah, sure. All right.
So, a lot of people are worried that if you're an organ donor, they're going to be like, well, we could save them.
But we could save 6 others.
No, but
With these organs.
No, it's we could save them, but look at them juicy organs. All right. We're making fun of people. So let's wrap this up. They say still many medical examiners don't know NamUs exists. So they create a database as a search tool where they can come up with bodies and find their family. Until any sort of procedure is standardized, unclaimed bodies in cities that see a high number of dead will continue to float from office to office, home to home, refrigerated truck to refrigerated truck. When Krebs needs to test the DNA of an unclaimed body for a missing persons case, she will have to keep racing from building to building in search of the transient dead. And she won't be surprised to find the bones she has been looking for in a glass display at a local university. She solved cold cases that way. Now, that is creepy.
Wow.
Could you imagine being like a university where you're like, we're accepting this body, and it's like, that was a murder victim who went missing, and you have that.
Yeah.
And we need that to stop the crime.
That happened
That literally
30
happened.
years ago.
All right. We're going to